saying all the should-haves, it's not solving the actual issue of the lateness.
And for our kids, that like, right? Just presenting to them that they should have done something that they didn't do doesn't help them build that problem-solving skill.
Yeah, and it's making an assumption on what the cause of the problem is. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the delightful Brie Tucker.
Why, hello, everybody. How are you?
Today, Brie, we're talking about one of your favorite topics.
What is it?
Being late.
Oh, yeah. I'm an expert at that one. I am an expert at it.
We tease. It's good-natured teasing, but I feel like you own up to it and you tease yourself about being late as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, I just wrote something, and I don't even remember when I wrote it for, where I was all like, it was an ad where I was like, yeah, I leave the house at 7:58 to make it to an 8 a.m. meeting at 30 minutes away. That's me. That's how I roll. My kids use Life 360 to figure out how late I'm going to be at picking them up. So,
My kids want to use Life 360 on my husband for that reason, that exact reason, to see where they are, see where he is, and then to know like where they need to be. But it's funny, like I remember when we were picking up stuff for the retreat last year, you're like, I'm on my way. And I'm like, you have just left your house, haven't you? Yep.
actually, the scary part is that most of the time when you get the I'm on my way text, I'm normally in my bathroom on the third floor of my house. So I don't have shoes on. I don't have a purse yet. I'm nowhere near my garage. I'm 2 flights away. Like, add another 5 minutes to that, I'm on my way. But for some reason in my head, the clock starts right there. It starts right there of the I've left. And so that's why a lot of times I'm like, oh, I have time. I don't add in the 5 to 10 minutes it takes me to get down to my car. And then I'm like, why am I late? I left on time.
I just don't understand what's going on here.
What?
I don't understand. But it's such a big point of frustration, especially for us parents, when like we have trouble getting out of the house on time. And then our kids are also making us even later, bringing up so many things. I mean, I think me in particular, when other people make me late, I go crazy. I go crazy because I do not like to be late. I like to be there about on time.
I'm
And,
glad
being late
that you give me some grace with that. But you've also learned the Brie trick of like, you just tell me like an hour before I have to be there. So,
well, yeah. But like I can't be late like to anything. If I'm walking in the door 2 minutes later, I am apologizing profusely for being late. And I don't know why I'm like that, but I think like if you're listening to this podcast, you might be a little like that too. And you want your kids to be on time. Like you hate this being late, but perhaps nothing you've said so far has really worked out, which happens. It happens. And in this episode, we are going to tell you the things not to say to your kids when they're late and what to say instead. So, on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast.
Okay, let's dig into this, Brie, because I think like if you look at your past and your childhood, were you always late?
Probably. So like I would say I am one of those people that has very bad conception of time. I always think I can fit more things into the time frame I have, and I blame it on my procrastination. I'm a huge procrastinator, always have been. That's how my brain works. In college, I was the kid who wrote her paper the night before and churned out an 11-page paper the night before, and that's the only way I could get it done. And so, yeah, I guess that's why. Like, I'm always trying to cram too much in there. And then when I was a kid, I was a latchkey kid. So I didn't have anybody there to tell me it was time to leave or to get out the door. Like, my dad woke me up and then he left for work. And my mom she worked at the hospital, so she was already at work. And my consequences were I either made the bus or I didn't. Those were so yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. I've I've always been slightly on time. Like, I've been about the same amount I am now. But when I was younger, it always used to be called the Madden hour, and Madden's my maiden name. But we would go over to my uncle and aunt's house, and we would say we'd be there by 3 and we wouldn't be there by 4. And it's like the Madden hour because in the house, it was my dad. My dad was always the one
Really?
to make the entire house late because when it was time to go, that was when he would start getting ready to go. And
Oh.
it drove my mom insane, insane. Because I think my mom is the same as me. She hates being late. She does not like what it looks like. She doesn't want anyone else to think like she is taking advantage of their time or anything like that. Basically, all the thought processes that I have, I can understand very, very well. And so this frustration when other people make you late, you just wanna, like,
Yeah.
blow a gasket.
Oh, yeah.
And I think especially when it comes to getting kids out the door for school, especially, like, if we are working and we have to get to work at a certain time, so, like, their lateness is affecting our lateness, and it's just this horrible situation. So, one of the things not to say to kids is, "You should have gone to bed earlier." Oh my gosh, have you ever had that said to you, Brie?
Um,
Like, "You should have gone to bed
well,
earlier."
when I got it, so like I on another podcast episode that'll air a little bit later, we were talking about how yesterday I was late to pick even up my daughter. And I told her, I
Yeah.
was like, couldn't be helped. I hit every red light. And she's like, you could have left earlier. To me, that's almost the same thing as you should have gone to bed earlier. And
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's is another not to say like you should have gotten up earlier. Like, cause
Yeah.
that's right there with it.
That's kind of the same thing. You
It's
should have, you
yeah.
should have, you should have, you should
Yeah,
have.
you
Those
should have
ones.
gone to bed
It's in the you
earlier.
should
You should
haves.
have gotten up earlier. Like, I know I for sure have said that before.
Yeah. And, like, how have you had that said to you?
Probably. I've had everything said to me under the sun
I
about
mean,
it. Are
it's
you kidding me? This is like I bet you if you talk to my ex-husband, he'd be like, "Yeah, that was definitely, something I had a hard time living with." Like,
well, yeah. But do you remember, like, your feelings when people say you should have?
yeah, like, it always makes you feel bad, and it's also like, well, a lot of help that does for me now. Like,
Yeah.
telling me now that I should have gotten up earlier 2 hours ago is completely unhelpful in this situation. And it also
Mhm.
just makes you feel like you're just I don't know, almost like you don't have the skills capable to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. My reaction is I'm like, "Damn straight I should have." But do you know what? There were a lot of other things going on. I'm like,
you're like, "In a perfect world? Yes, but that's not the world we live in."
it's like I am completely aware that I should have woken up earlier. I am aware of that,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to stop it, and I don't
Yeah.
like, it's not solving the issue. Like, saying all the should haves, it's not solving the actual issue of the
And
lateness.
for our kids, that like, right? Just presenting to them that they should have done something that they didn't do doesn't help them build that problem-solving skill.
Yeah, and it's making an assumption on what the cause of the problem is. Like, if your child is late and you say, "Oh, you should have gone to bed earlier," you're assuming that, okay, they're not getting enough sleep and they have to sleep in, and that is why they're so tired in the morning, and that is why they're not getting the things done. Where in reality, that may actually not be it at all. Maybe they couldn't fall asleep last night because they were worried about something, or worried about an assignment, or worried about something for school, or maybe like they couldn't wake up and do things in the morning that fast because they were missing like the shoe they were supposed to wear. Like they could only find one shoe and they spent so much time looking for that other shoe that that's the real issue, and it's not the bedtime or the sleepiness issue.
Or they had a terrible night's sleep, or they had a nightmare and it again like affected their sleep. And so they had a hard time getting up in the morning, or when they got up on time, but they were moving twice as slow because their body was just exhausted. Yeah.
Exactly. And we don't know that when we say, you should have done this, you should have done that.
Yeah.
The more helpful thing to do is, first of all, we say this a lot, you cannot solve this issue in the moment because you are pissed off. If you're anything
Yeah.
like me, you are pissed off that you're late.
Yeah.
Like,
You're pissed off at the kids, you're pissed off at yourself, you're pissed off at life, and you're pissed off at the clock.
yeah. And your job, which is like, why the hell did this meeting have to be so early in the morning?
Right.
And your husband, who's like, oh, if his work wasn't so like pissed off at the world, pissed off at the world.
Yes.
So while you're pissed off, you cannot make this conversation happen. But if it happens a lot, this lateness, you could then ask your kids later, be like, hey, we had a really difficult time getting out the door on time this morning.
Mhm.
Like, what's up? And just try to find out exactly what the issue is by questioning. It's all about questioning. I always think of the phrase, it's kind of a mean phrase, but it helps me remember. You have two ears and one mouth, use them accordingly. And it's something that it's something that we have to remember with our kids because I think we get into this rhythm of giving them all this great advice and we think like, oh, if they only listened to us and if they only like accepted our words and followed our instructions, their lives would be perfect. But really, we're only assuming what the issue is. And so we need to ask them questions to actually figure out what their blocks are. Asking them stuff like, what are you having trouble with in the morning? What caused you to have difficulty getting out the door this morning? What could we do to make it easier for you to get it out the door? Those kind of things. Just figuring out what exactly that issue is that's causing the lateness. And we're going to get into our next two things to say right after this.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. So we recently got our youngest a Greenlight card, and I have to tell you, it's been amazing. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy while also giving parents some peace of mind. Like you can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. For us, the best part has just been seeing how my son has felt so empowered with like a card of his own that he could spend things on. He feels more grown up and has more responsibility. And as a baby of the family, you gotta have that feeling. So join me and 6 million other parents and kids who are learning about money on Greenlight. Sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM. That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM.
It's 2024, and I have a very big goal this year. I am going to get our budget to a happy place. And that is why I am really excited about starting this year by using EveryPlate. Their meals are cheaper than your average takeout, and I am going to ditch my weekly takeout, and I'm going to save some money, all while still enjoying some really yummy meals that I can make at home.
Yeah, I'm excited to try EveryPlate too because not only do they make the meal times easier, they have a focus on quality as well, which is so important to me when I'm cooking. And they have sustainably sourced seafood that meets the Monterey Bay Aquarium seafood ranking. So you know that your meals are going to be fresh and flavorful, and I cannot wait to try it. And the best thing is they plan the meals, they deliver the pre-portioned ingredients right to your door so you can spend less time meal prepping and more time like you, Brie, reaching your New Year's goals.
I know. And I'm also excited about this one. Check it out. My daughter is going to love it. You can add steak to your weekly meal plan, like a 10-ounce ranch steak for just $1 a box when you have a subscription. So I just can't. We're going to be having a great time.
That's a pretty good steak deal. That is. Get started with EveryPlate for just $1.49 per meal plus $1 steaks for life. Oh my gosh, your daughter's going to be so excited by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49NGM. Subscription must be active to qualify and redeem $1 steak. Okay, the next thing not to say to your kids when they're late. Okay, you ready, Brie?
Yes.
Something along the lines of, you don't get any screen time today.
It's
It's taking away those privileges because they were late in the morning.
I was going to say the age old, well, then you don't get to enjoy other things hours later that are completely unrelated to what happened.
And that's going to cause me personal suffering taking away from you because then you're going to be in my hair all afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the only time, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, the only time that I would say that if you're going to take away screen time, it would have to be directly related to the situation. So for instance, when my kids were a lot younger, my son didn't have to get to school as early as his sister because they went to two different schools. And so if he was dressed, ate breakfast, packed and ready for school early, he could play Minecraft in the morning while he waited for his sister to get ready and have us get her out the door, and then we come back and grab him and take him to school. So if he was playing Minecraft and wasn't ready, then I would say, no screen time for you tomorrow morning because today you showed that we couldn't get it done. But that's the
Mm.
only way where I think that that could possibly be related. Otherwise, that whole arbitrarily taking away things doesn't help anything.
And I would agree with you that it is related then. I would say, like, it could go one step further, though, with the Minecraft, where he could be put in control of his Minecraft use and asking him to figure out the issue. Because usually when kids are stuck playing a video game, like, when they are totally absorbed in it,
Mhm.
when they look back, they can usually admit that, "Hey, I lost track of time because I was playing this game."
Yeah.
And they would also be like, "Yeah, maybe this made me late." So the whole questioning thing works really well in this situation too. Of course, waiting until it's calm and then being like, "So hey,
Yeah.
so like what were the difficulties this morning? Like how did we not get out the door?"
Right.
And getting them to say that. Because when people say something that's wrong, you will
That
have such better luck than if you tell them what's wrong.
exactly, because again, like you just said, it's not their perspective, it's your
Mhm.
perspective. And as far as they're concerned, for most kids, we don't know what we're talking about. We're just a
Yeah.
parent. No, I can do it. I can make it work. Okay. But it's hard though, and we get it. It's a hard balance when, like you already pointed out, like if them being late impacts you and more than just a now I'm behind on running errands, like a I'm going to be late to a meeting and I'm going to get reprimanded by my boss. Or
Mhm.
I'm going to be late to a doctor's appointment and they're going to cancel my appointment and now I'm going to owe them $100 for a missed appointment. Like,
That's a big one.
yeah, like we get that happens, but at the same time, you're it's like trying to run in quicksand when you keep telling them what's wrong and what the solution needs to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah, and for those kind of situations, like, it's all about telling your kids also what's going on. Because I feel like we try to hurry them on along, but we don't tell them the reasons behind the hurrying
Mhm.
along. We're just like, "Hurry up, you're gonna make me late. Hurry up, hurry up,
Yeah.
hurry up," like, because we're so in that mindset where we're just stressed,
Yeah.
and our logical brains, they're not thinking, they're not online. We just need that child out of the house right now. And then later we give ourselves shame for yelling at our kids or snapping with our kids.
Mhm.
And I want you to hear this and I want you to make sure that you give yourself some self compassion for those moments because it's not how the human brain works. You are overloaded with stress. Your amygdala is producing all of these stress hormones and cortisol in your body,
Mhm.
and you cannot think straight. And it's not being able to control it better. It's not like being able to keep calm. It's just the reality of the situation. So that's why if you had a really stressful morning with your kids, don't talk about it right then. Just be like, "We're gonna talk about this when we get home." Like, and you could say it like that. I say it like that too.
Yeah.
And then that's when you can start asking them the questions. And once you got everything behind the reason that they were late, that's where you can go in with your concerns and be like, "Okay, I hear everything you're saying. This morning I was late to a meeting and my boss yelled at me." And
Right.
just let it sit there.
And I think I have found so many times that because of the role that I played in my family, both with my ex husband and then also even after I got divorced and I was a single mom, I have always been fortunate enough to have a job that has been flexible. Like that,
Mhm.
first of all, people like me enough that they're willing to oversee the fact that Brie is chronically late. And that's just on her side, not even with the kids. Like my work would laugh at me that I would be later getting into the office when I didn't have the kids than when I did. So, but that's another conversation. I
It
always
works better now that your office is in your home. Because
right.
now when you say, "I'm on my way," you're actually there in a minute.
Yes, now I'm actually there like in 30 seconds if I'm not already like with it right there in front of me. But yeah, so it's funny because I always had a flexible job. And because of that, what that meant, what my kids saw was, all right, if we have a half day, mom can still pick us up. All right, if I have an assembly, mom's going to come and be there. She can be flexible. They didn't know that on the backside of that, to be flexible, that meant that though sometimes I did have things that were non-flexible, but they didn't know that. So like you said,
Mhm.
I was late today to a meeting and I ended up getting in trouble, or I was late to a meeting and I made 15 other people have to sit around and wait for me because I wasn't
Yeah.
there. And they would never in a million years have imagined that's why I was yelling to get out the door on time. They never in a they
Mhm.
because all they see is flexible mom,
Flexible. Yeah,
flexible
exactly.
mom.
And also, to address a yeah, but because I know that sometimes when you start telling your concerns to your kids, they come back at you with like, "So?
Ugh, that
Like, that
hurts.
doesn't affect me."
That
It
hurts.
hurt it hurts a lot, and that is a sign that they are still angry. They're still angry about something, they're
Mhm.
saving some face. Anytime, like, I see a kid come back with that, I'm like, "Ooh, okay, we're not quite ready to talk about this yet."
Yeah.
And that's what I'll say, I'll be like, "Okay, that hurt what you said to me right there.
Mhm.
We need to pause this conversation and talk about it again when we are both less angry."
Yeah.
And just step away and let things cool down. But don't be surprised if your kids come back at you with that. It's not that they're horrible people, it's that at that time, it could be the fear of getting in trouble, it could be the fear of being confronted, it could be anything going on in their brains right at that moment. It doesn't mean they're a horrible person. It doesn't mean you're raising a horrible person. It doesn't mean they're going to turn into a sociopath who like murders everybody and has no respect for the feelings of those around him. Which I
What?
think are the fears.
And then our kid's gonna be a social outcast and they're gonna live in a van down by the river? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think those are our fears when those responses come. So just see those responses and be like, and where tensions are still high.
yeah.
And we're going to talk
And
about
it
this later.
yep, pokes our buttons. Pokes
Pokes
our
our buttons
buttons,
and we're
pushes our
pushes our
buttons. There we
buttons.
go.
Mixing the metaphors, metaphor mixing, metaphor mixing. Well, we're going to talk about the last thing not to say to kids when they're late right after this.
This message is sponsored by Every Plate. Anyone who knows me knows there are two things that happen with me. I'm always trying to save money and I am always running behind. It's 7:58 and I'm on my way out the door to an 8 a.m. meeting. But that is why we partnered with Every Plate. Every Plate has helped me save time with less trips to the grocery store and meals ready in 6 simple steps. I absolutely love how they plan delicious meals and send me the pre-portioned ingredients right to my door. So I can spend less time planning, shopping, and cooking and all while saving big bucks.
I too have better things to worry about, Brie, than what's for dinner. Every plate provides plenty of delicious variety. I'm talking so yummy, like 26 tasty and affordable recipes that start as little as $1.49 a meal and new recipes every week. This week we're trying the bacon and Gouda smothered chicken. Like I'm salivating. I'm salivating already. You know me and food. And I really love that I can customize my recipes by swapping proteins and sides or even adding a protein to a veggie dish.
Hey, Joanne, do you got a buck?
Yeah.
Well, then you can get steak for life. It seems unbelievable to me, but you can add a 10-ounce ranch steak to your weekly order for just $1 a box with your active subscription.
Get a meal starting at just $1.49 plus $1 steaks for life by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49NGM. Subscription must be active to qualify and redeem $1 steak. You heard that right. Get a meal starting at just $1.49 plus $1 steaks for life by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49NGM. Subscription must be active to qualify and redeem that $1 steak. I've been looking for simple ways to form healthy habits and get the nutrients my body needs, even on really busy mornings. And lately, I've been feeling pretty stressed and sluggish. So that's why I decided to give AG1 a try. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more, but it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day. And it makes me feel strong and energized and ready to face the day, in addition to my cup of coffee. And that is why we've partnered with AG1. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/NGM. That's drinkag1.com/NGM. Check it out. The last thing that tends to come out of our mouths when our kids are late, you really need to be more responsible It's that moral high ground one. It's the you don't have the qualities that it takes. You are such an insensitive human being who is not capable of doing things, and you really need to be more responsible. Oh my gosh. I heard that said to me so often. What about you, Brie?
That hurts. Like I don't know if I heard that, but I am sure that there was like a couple of times out of anger where I might have been like, "Yeah, you're killing us all here. You're kill say it in a funny way. You're killing us, Smalls. You're killing us all.
Yeah.
Like we can't make it out cuz like when my son who is now uber responsible, when he was in elementary and middle school was the chronic late one. Like always made us late. Always. And it just got old after a while. You're like, we've given you so many chances. You've come up with a million different solutions. None of them have worked. And in your anger, that's the thought process that goes through your head. It's just what you said. It like, well, it you're incapable of doing it. And then
I
where is the motivation to try after you've been told that you're incapable?
Yeah, I mean, how do you become more responsible? What are the steps?
Yeah.
Like, where's the rule book? Where's the guide to become more responsible? Like, it's not anything that I could follow up on. It's like, I think the adult equivalent of this that gets said in workplaces is you need to be better managing your time. That's like
Okay, now that
the
one I've
ultimate
heard. Okay.
that's like the ultimate in shame because like our first one, you you don't know where to go from there and the person telling you that is assuming what the issue is. When really when you talk about responsibility and time management, I mean, it could be an ADHD issue.
Yeah.
Like we know, like Bree, just you explaining everything that you go through, it's like all symptoms of
Oh
ADHD. And I
yeah.
have those as well.
It's like we're
Like,
always we've always been working with, like, a broken down car, been trying to fix it
mhm.
and make it work, and we were just lucky enough, and I say we, like, literally, like, you and I were lucky enough to make it through, but now we see it in our kids, and we're like, "Damn, that's hard. God, I wish somebody woulda
Mhm.
given me a couple of tools, or maybe been like, 'Hey, we can get you a new engine and it'll work better.'"
And not so much of the self-shame
Yeah.
because a lot of it comes from, "Oh my gosh, I see so many other people doing this. Why can't I do it?"
Mhm.
Like, for example, I would used to go when I was in high school, I remember my junior year, I had a friend, Isabel, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I spent, like, till midnight studying last night, and I did all of these things, and I read all these, like, really boring stuff, like the history books, stuff like I could never keep my focus and attention on." And I would always think that there was something wrong with me. I was not responsible enough that I would actually study for tests before they happened. And I always did okay. Like I had my ways to get through, but when you tell kids, "Oh, you should be more responsible," it's they go into self-shame mode
Yeah.
because the immediate thought is, "Well, why can't I do this and everyone else can?" That's like the type of kid I was. Or they go on the defensive and they're like, "Well, F this then. I'm not even going to try."
Right? And, like,
Like,
that's exactly because you're
mhm,
you're setting up somebody to believe that they have a fault within them that cannot be
mhm.
fixed. So, why would you put any more energy and effort towards it? Especially
Yeah.
if it's something that just continuously comes back as being pointed out as something that they don't like about you. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
It's a trait. Yeah. And like the you should be more responsible is nothing that's going to encourage them to do better. It's nothing. And usually there is something else going on that needs to be not fixed, but needs to be
dealt,
found out.
addressed.
So
Yeah.
address so that you can help your child problem solve through it to actually get the results of being on time. And a lot of people see that and they're like, "Oh, you're coddling them. You're like not tough enough with them. You should really be stricter with them."
So then I would
And
say, wait a second, like, okay, because
yeah,
I was married to this person,
I know.
and
I know it's a trigger actually for
I
you,
was
and
gonna say,
I chose my language on
Joanne's
purpose
over there
to
in her
get to
head
get you in
going,
there.
"What?"
Yeah, I'm like,
Because I hear this a lot, and what I hear is like, "You coddle too much, you don't give them enough responsibility," and it's like, "Okay, um, I hear what you're saying, but how is it when I tell them, 'Let's figure it out,' How is that coddling? How is it
Mhm.
by having them actually use real life problem solving skills? How is that not preparing them for the real world? Like,
Yeah,
let me,
exactly.
because we're preparing them in a safe environment where they
Mhm.
are more willing to take risks and they're more willing to try things out, because a lot of us have a fear of failure, right? Like, I mean, I think that's pretty much human nature for 99% of the population, a fear of
Oh,
failure,
yeah.
right? And that fear of failure a lot of times is what keeps us from trying out different techniques. And I mean, this could be used on a much grander scale, but even just talking about getting ready in the morning, like, if you think that you've got an idea, oh, but it probably is going to suck and it's probably not going to work, you're not even going to try it out of that fear of failure. But if they're in a safe environment with you, then they can try
Mhm.
it. And they can actually start that whole problem solving technique of like, well, this didn't work. That kind of helped me get a little bit faster. What if I tweak it this way? But they'll never practice it if they're not given a safe environment to try.
Exactly. It's all about making that safe environment for kids. That is the underlying theme and thread throughout this whole episode. Because all of the things we said not to say to kids, it's really damaging the safe environment for trial, for error, for figuring out the reasons behind things. And if you say one of these things to your kids, like, it's okay,
Yeah.
it's okay. It just gives you a chance to repair and come back and be like, hey, I was angry and stressed and I shouldn't have said that this morning. I am sorry. And
Mhm.
working from there, that's all we can do as parents. Bree and I, we are not perfect at all. Those things come out of our mouths as well.
Yes.
And it just gives a chance for us to repair the situation and go forward from there.
And I hope, if anything, it teaches our kids that it's okay to apologize. It's okay to admit that you're
Mhm.
wrong. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength that you're willing to admit that you were wrong and to, all right. But and wrong isn't, that's the other thing too. Like, I think too many times like we get stuck in the whole wrong thing. Like, admitting that you're wrong doesn't necessarily mean that you were like completely not knowledgeable. It just means like, oops, that situation I handled it wrong. So I'm going to handle it better next time. Talking them through your thought process.
Yeah, and there's so much freedom that comes once you can accept that it's okay to apologize,
Mhm.
because a lot of the stress comes away then with getting it perfect because you're never going to get it perfect. But
Yep.
if you know that you always have that repair as an option, you get to come back to it again and again and again, and I love it. I love being able to repair. It's actually one of the best relationship builders between me and my kids is our abilities to repair with each other.
Yeah.
So try it. Let us know any questions that you have. So if you haven't already, Brie and I have a favor to ask you. Can you rate and review this podcast? It really helps us get the word out to many more moms who need it, many more moms who need to stop, who need the permission to stop feeling bad about the things they do, to know that they're not alone, and to give them a positive outlook for what's possible and what relationship is possible with their kids. And until next time, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday, who is pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.